proper editing, I mainly worked in duplication places at first. So basically, the simplest, I don't remember what the first job was, but I can remember a lot of it was just putting in commercials into existing shows, what they call formatting, which is still done today, but it's done on a file, not on a videotape. But you'd get a syndicated show or family feuds at a place where I work, certain soap operas, and you would literally drop in 30 and 15-second commercials onto the tape. So not very creative, not creative at all, boring as hell, but it was a job. And at one point, believe it or not, kids, at one point you could make your living doing that, doing a videotape. But
Well,
as I said, nowadays you need a lot of different skills. You
well,
can't be a
let's fast
specialist.
forward
Okay,
to
please.
your documentary.
Okay.
I mean, you have edited an award-winning full-length documentary,
And if I may say,
Burma and
we
Indictment.
thank you. We just won our third Best Documentary Award from
That is
the first
congratulations.
Glance Festival in Philadelphia. Thank you very much, Billy.
Oh.
It played at a great venue. I wish I could have been down there. It played at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. But the film is called Burma and Indictment, and it exposes a lot of things that are going on Burma: slavery, torture, rape, murder. Thousands of political prisoners are behind bars there. And it is a very rich country. It's a very rich country where people are starving in the streets. And yes,
You
I
only
have
two
bought a clip.
levels, the rich and those who don't have anything.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think it's a little more, you know, it's not in one documentary that lasts, you know, about an hour. We can't go into all the details. There's a lot of stuff that had to be left out for brevity's sake.
You know, it's interesting. When you're doing something like that, can you totally separate yourself from what it is that the documentary is about and the actual work that you have to do to edit it? I mean, I guess it's like a surgeon doing an operation. You have to look only at the portion of the body that you're working on as opposed to what's going on.
I tell you, I can. I don't know how easy it is for other people. I can, because the most important thing to me is the message and how many people are going to get this message. We didn't make this film to make a profit. Most documentaries don't make a profit. You want to make a profit on a documentary, Kim Kardashian. You know, that's what's going to make you money. But any social issues, that's not going to get you any money. So the most important thing to me was, and I was the script writer, not the director, but the director and I agreed. Jeremy Taylor directed it, by the way, and he did a brilliant job. And he produced the film as well. But the most important thing to us was, how do we communicate this so that the maximum number of people will be affected, will be aware of this? We can't get into all the details. We can't get into all the stories.
Right.
But what's the most important thing to impart, and I don't believe in preaching to the converted at all. I want more people to watch this and care.
All right, well, let's get to the actual editing part of it. You have a clip of
I do have a clip, yes. And actually, I chose this clip because it doesn't really require any setup. But
Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can roll that clip. We can look at it.
For many years now, even when I was young, when I was back in Burma, people would tell us not to go outside at night. Your sons and daughters could be easily taken as porters. For boys, they will force them to serve the military. And for girls, who knows what they would do.
The porters are essentially young kids that are picked up out of the villages, taken from their families, and turned into carrying equipment into the malaria areas where you're going to get ill regularly. You're going to die out there or die of the heat. The jungle essentially is a very tough place to exist in. And that porter really means you're out there slugging in the swamps for an oil company. The porters are essentially slaves of that economy.
So you were asking me before about if you can separate, and I was thinking about that during the clip because I definitely have a point of view about the military junta in Burma, and so does definitely director Jeremy Taylor. We have a point of view. The thing is, we didn't want to make it fair and balanced because we didn't feel any, it's like making a fair and balanced film on the Holocaust. Well, how do you represent the Nazis? How do we give their point of view? I didn't think it was really necessary, and the point of view of the military junta is being represented by huge influxes of cash and being protected by
Right.
China and a few other countries.
Yeah, well, to get back to the issue of the business of editing,
Yes, please.
how much film was shot, and how long did it take you to edit it down to? How long was the documentary, the finished
Well,
product?
the film that was actually was videotape, and we didn't have the option of doing film for two reasons. Number one, we didn't have the budget, but number two, the three journalists we sent into Burma they didn't go in as journalists. They don't allow journalists. All the journalists were kicked out the year before, literally exiled the year before they went in. So they went in posing as tourists with little video cameras.
So they came
shot
back?
80 hours.
Oh my gosh.
They shot 80 hours. The military, the secret police kind of figured out what they were doing, and they started following them around, and they thought all of our tapes are going to get confiscated before we leave. So the American embassy in Burma helped them smuggle it out. They shipped it to the Thai embassy in one of those diplomatic pouches, and from the Thai embassy, it was FedEx back here. They FedExed us about 80 to 90 hours worth of videotape.
And how many tapes did this represent?
80 or 90.
Right.
I mean, it was
An hour
basically,
per tape.
Actually, no, it was more like 100 and 120, because
So
the tapes were shorter. But that was what just was shot there. We shot another 20 hours, maybe 30 hours of additional material here in New York.
Now, how long did it take you actually to edit it down to a finished product? And how much time did you find yourself? I mean, you are a very energetic, active, what I'd say type A personality.
Okay.
Editing seems like a skill where you really have to, well, one of my law professors told me at one time, in order to pass the bar exam, you have to have butt retention.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, how much time were you able to just sit and work on just simply editing?
I have to give you my standard line about editing. I spent the best years of my life, and this is way before I edited this documentary, but the best years of my life as a professional editor were spent in little dark rooms without windows, watching the same piece of videotape over and over and over again, and that is literally the truth. I'm sorry, what was your question now? I'm so hung up on that quote.
How long were you able?
It took 2 years.
What the periods of time that you spent actually sitting, working on one section
It
and
can
editing?
be, yeah.
I mean,
It got
did you pull
real.
all-nighters?
Yes, it absolutely got very obsessive after a while. We were trying to make a couple of different deadlines. You see, I mean, as this was being shot, we were getting boxes of tapes. And the idea was we wanted to make a film festival by the end of that year, and also this was timely. It still is timely, but it was more timely in 2008, and so we wanted to get this done while the news is still fresh, while this is still in people's minds. So we really started editing it. I started editing before I should have. I'll tell people that I teach that, well, you should really have everything laid out in front of you and be organized and everything, so you don't go down too many paths that you're not going to pursue.
But that's not that easy to do, is it?
And we ended up going down a few paths and editing a lot of stuff that we ended up not using. Again, you can't tell every tale, and we didn't know what footage we were going to get in. When we got in the first box of tapes, we didn't know what was coming in the second, third, fourth one.
Right. But with the experience that you had as an editor, did you feel you were ready to sit down and
Yes
edit?
and no. I mean, I found out one of the things experience teaches you is that a lot of times you feel less than ready, but it's time to do it.
Just
And
go
if
ahead
you-
and bite the bullet. and suck it up
If you sit
and go.
around waiting until you're ready, your hair will get gray and the world will pass you by. And literally, you have a documentary that's 10 or 12 years old is more historical significance. So don't wait until you're ready. When it's time to do it, you do it, and you'll make yourself ready.
Well,
And if you make mistakes, big deal.
you're the only one who really knows it, right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what kind of training? I mean, I've had people come to me who want to start a business as an editor.
Right.
I mean, I know the formation of business.
Right.
I don't know the business of editing, and I mean, presumably they're supposed to have this knowledge, and I
Yes.
just help them to package it into a business. But what kind of training should one have if this is an area that they want to pursue?
If they have the luxury of going to a film school, and there's a number of them, I went to one which is visual arts. NYU is more famous for film. But there's any number of film schools. There's crash courses given around town. I believe the New York Film Academy has very, very short, intensive workshops to get you going with the process. So I would say that it's more a matter of knowing different skills. You're not going to get anywhere, especially if you're starting a business. You're not going to get anywhere if you set yourself up and saying, we are the editing boutique, and this is what we do, and no, we don't shoot, no, we don't mix sound. It may, you may get the budget to farm that out to other people, but you may not get the budget, and you may need to do it. And of course, with all these skills, you're going to be stronger than in some skills than other skills. Fortunately, I happen to be strong in the traditional skills of shooting, mixing sound, and cutting, and I'm getting better all the time at my web skills and streaming, and these are also streaming video is something that keeps improving. So
you bring up a very interesting point. I mean, everybody's creating websites, and everybody's saying, "I will do your website for you." Is this a good area, do you think, for someone starting a business to try to get into that area of creating the website instead of trying to get right into editing a video? Or?
Well, I don't see that as a direct road, but again, I don't think things have gotten, the expectation is that you don't do one thing anymore. I don't think anybody is really, there are a few people out there who strictly make their living strictly doing websites. But they have to, I think any one of the people who are doing that will tell you that they have to know how to use design tools, they have to know how to create content, they have to know how to deal with video and audio on there. You can't specialize anymore.
Do you believe it? We're out of time. We're coming
Okay.
down to our last few seconds.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Can I mention my show, which is here on this
Absolutely.
network?
I
It's called
want you.
DVTV Live, the longest running call-in show in New York. It's on Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. And go to my blog, which is dvtv.blogspot.com. You'll see many videos I've edited and my archives of the shows for the past 5 years.
I can't thank you enough
Oh,
for
thank
doing
you, June.
this. This has just been such a thrill and a treat for me to have you for 28 minutes.
It's been that long. I don't believe it.
Right. But I also want to thank, we are just about out of time. We're out of time. But I'd like to thank Ed, our director, who handled this along with his crew, and Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I'm your host, June Middleton. This has been Minding Your Business, the show for entrepreneurs. See yourself where you want to be. And again, you're terrific to have done this.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
I like your place, too. It's
Oh.
very nice. I like all